own sons picked up He's the Rich Boy and noted that one of the scenes in the book, the part where Nadine's two not-so-perfect sons arrive home from school, was very reminiscent of his own life. He read the scene aloud and asked me if I'd used events from my life as well as his and his brother's for this particular book. Not all of them, I told him. But the truth of the matter is, yes, those two rambunctious fighting boys, they do remind me of my own. I wonder why. Anyway, enjoy Confessions. I've had so much fun going back to Whitefire Lake and being reunited with these characters. I hope you do too. If you want to catch up with me and my other books, please visit www.lisajackson.com or friend me on Facebook and join the conversation. It can get interesting. Keep listening. Lisa Jackson. He's the Rich Boy. Prologue. Whitefire Lake, California. The Present. Nadine Warren rubbed the kinks from the back of her neck and considered taking a bubble bath to soothe her stiff joints. How long had it been since she'd allowed herself the luxury of an hour soaking in a tub of hot water? Years. She simply didn't have the time. With the tiring job of cleaning other people's houses, a smaller business on the side that she was trying to get off the ground while single-parenting two rambunctious preteen boys, there didn't seem to be a minute she could call her own. Such is life, she told herself pragmatically. She carried her mops and pails and boxes of wax and cleansers into the house and stashed them inside the cupboard near the back door of her small cabin. The house wasn't much, but it was paid for, and the land it rested on the south side of the lake, would be valuable someday. She was counting on it. This small plot of land was her investment for the future. Her boy's education, and nothing, not heaven or hell, would take it from her. She'd been robbed of the education promised to her, and ever since then she'd vowed to herself that her children wouldn't have to make that particular sacrifice. And she wouldn't be as foolish as her father and believe in a rich man's dream. She scowled and refused to think about the wealthy bastard who had swindled her father. She'd put all her hopes and dreams into this little piece of real estate. Even though the prime properties were located on the north shore of Whitefire Lake, soon enough there would be no more land for wealthy people to build dream homes, and they would have to search elsewhere, most likely on the south side. Nadine was convinced that there would come a time when water frontage upon Whitefire Lake would all be worth a pretty penny. At least she hoped so. That was why, when she and her ex-husband, Sam, had divorced, she'd fought like a terrier to keep this old cottage. She smiled as she reheated a pot of coffee and glanced at the kitchen. Large enough for a table pushed against one wall, the cozy room boasted a few pine cabinets, a small expanse of wooden counter, and one window surrounded by red gingham curtains that matched the 3 placemats stacked beneath the napkin holder, and salt and pepper shakers on the table. Not much, but all she could afford. In addition to the kitchen, there was a living room, single bath, 1 bedroom, a large pantry converted into her sewing room and office, and a loft with bunk beds for the boys. Not exactly the Ritz, but comfortable enough, and what John and Bobby lacked in creature comforts was surpassed by the fact that they lived practically in the wilderness, with the lake a bare 20 yards from the front porch. Frogs, deer, rabbits, squirrels, raccoons, and birds were in abundance. Her children, whether they knew it or not, were far from deprived. They should be returning soon, she thought, and glanced toward the road. Each day after school they rode their bikes to a neighbor's house where they stayed until Nadine arrived home. John was old enough to protest being babysat, but both boys were too young to fend for themselves even for a few hours. Pouring coffee into a mug, she wondered how things would have worked out if, as she'd hoped, Turner Brooks, a rancher she worked for, had shown her the least bit of interest. She'd been attracted to him for years.